Somewhere, right now, someone picked up their phone to check one notification. 20 minutes later, they're still scrolling, and they couldn't tell you what they've actually seen in the last 10 of those minutes. That's not a willpower problem. It's a design problem. One specific decision made by one person in 2006 that quietly rewired how billions of people relate to their own attention. He didn't build it to trap anyone, and he's spent years since publicly saying he regrets it. Before 2006, the internet had a built-in pause button nobody thought much about: the page break. You'd see a set of results, then hit next page, a small, ordinary moment where your brain briefly asked, almost without noticing, "Do I actually want to keep doing this?" A designer working at a small startup that year built something that quietly deleted that moment. No more page breaks. No more natural stopping point. Just content, loading endlessly, the instant you got close to the bottom. He called it Infinite Scroll. It took only a few hours of work to build, by his own account. A small technical fix for a small design problem, never intended as anything bigger than that. Today, it runs underneath almost every major social platform on Earth: Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, X, and dozens of others, all quietly relying on the exact same removed stopping point to keep you moving forward, one more post at a time. His name is Asa Raskin, and years later, he's been remarkably blunt about what he actually made. In one interview, he estimated his invention costs humanity something like 200,000 hours of collective human attention every single day. In another, he described what social media companies did with his simple design using a phrase that's hard to forget: sprinkling behavioral cocaine over your interface. He wasn't describing someone else's product. He was describing what happened to the thing he built. So if the person who invented it says it works like a drug, what's actually happening inside your brain every time you feel that pull to keep going? Here's the part most people get backwards. Dopamine, the chemical everyone blames for this, isn't released when you find something good. According to neuroscience research on reward prediction, dopamine actually spikes hardest in anticipation of a reward, specifically when that reward is uncertain. Not guaranteed, not absent. Uncertain. That's the exact mechanism behind slot machines, and it's the exact mechanism behind your feed. Every swipe might reveal something boring. It might reveal something hilarious. It might reveal something that makes your stomach drop. You genuinely don't know until it loads. And that not knowing is precisely what your brain finds impossible to walk away from. If every single swipe delivered the exact same, predictable result, always something great or always something dull, the pull would fade almost immediately. Predictability is boring to a brain built on prediction. It's the randomness stacked on top of endless supply that keeps the anticipation firing, swipe after swipe, long after the actual content stopped being memorable. Infinite Scroll wasn't the only feature borrowed from that exact psychology. The pull to refresh gesture, the little animation where you drag down and wait for new content to load, was designed by an engineer named Loren Brichter. Years later, he told a reporter something just as direct as Raskin's own regret. Pull to refresh is addictive. Twitter is addictive. These are not good things. Look at the two gestures side by side, and the comparison stops being a metaphor. You pull down. You wait. You find out what you got. It's the same interaction, wearing a different outfit. None of this even requires you to open the app first. That's the other half of the design. A notification badge, that small red circle with a number on it, is engineered specifically to create a sense of unfinished business. A tiny itch your brain wants resolved immediately. It doesn't tell you what's waiting. It just tells you something is, and lets your own imagination fill in the uncertainty before you've even unlocked your phone. That single design choice is why so many people check their phone dozens of times a day without consciously deciding to. The badge isn't information. It's bait. And it works precisely because it borrows the same uncertain reward psychology as everything already loading beneath it. By 2017, this wasn't just a handful of designers privately feeling guilty anymore. It became testimony in front of the United States Senate. A former design ethicist at one of the biggest tech companies in the world told lawmakers directly that the industry was engaged in what he called a race to the bottom of the brainstem. Companies competing against each other by targeting the most primitive, hardest to resist reward circuits in the human brain. Because that's what kept people scrolling. That phrase matters because of what it admits out loud. This wasn't an accidental side effect discovered after the fact. Competing for attention meant competing to be more psychologically compelling than the app next to it. And the most effective way to win that competition was to aim lower, not higher, in the brain. The business logic behind that choice is almost mechanically simple. Every additional minute someone spends scrolling is another slot for an advertisement, another data point about their behavior, another chance the platform's own metrics tick upward before the next quarterly report. None of the individual engineers necessarily set out to build something harmful. They were simply told to optimize for one number: time spent. And the brainstem, it turns out, is extremely easy to optimize for. Here's the strange final twist. Several of the people who engineered these systems didn't quietly cash out and move on. Raskin co-founded an organization called the Center for Humane Technology in 2018, specifically built to push back against the same design patterns he'd helped invent, campaigning for the removal of infinite scroll and autoplay from the products that had adopted them. It's a strange kind of atonement. The inventor of the thing that costs you 20 minutes you didn't mean to spend, spending years of his own life trying to convince the industry to undo it. Not every platform has listened. Most of the features these critics have publicly campaigned against, infinite scroll, autoplay, the notification badge, are still standard, unchanged, running exactly as designed on the phone currently sitting somewhere near you right now. So the next time you catch yourself still scrolling, 10 minutes past the one notification that started it, remember what's actually happening underneath your thumb. It isn't a lack of discipline. It's a feature, built deliberately, refined by entire teams whose job was to make stopping feel just slightly harder than continuing. One uncertain, maybe good, maybe nothing swipe at a time. The page break used to give your brain a moment to ask if it wanted to keep going. Somebody removed that moment on purpose, and an entire industry found out it was extremely profitable once it was gone. That same trick, removing the moment where you'd normally stop and think, shows up far beyond your phone's feed, in far more expensive decisions than which video plays next. That's exactly where we're going next.